Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Monday morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good Monday morning, my friend.
Post-WrestleMania.
Post-WrestleMania Monday. Let them know what they're in for today, my friend.
We will definitely jump into the NBA playoffs. We'll sprinkle in some NHL playoffs and some sad Condor news as the regular season ended for them on Saturday. And then we'll also have Adam Resendez, another WWE guy, talking WrestleMania. And he was actually in Vegas for the start of the whole extravaganza. Took place in the Fanatics experience. So we have some questions for him.
And apparently he has a message for me from Soraya,
yes.
which is very interesting. We'll get into that story when he actually gets in here. I've known Adam for a very, very long time. Coached football with Adam for the Fighting Irish, the youth football league in Golden Empire. I apologize. I forgot the name for a second there.
It is Monday.
It is Monday.
So that means we'll have a motivational Monday. And we'll have a clip for you around 7:45, and we'll wrap up. There is some news out of NCAA football.
Of course, because, you know, Nico Iamaleava finally finds his home. We'll let you know where he has decided right after we get done with the NBA playoff rundown. But there's been plenty of playoff basketball that we have to talk about because, in my personal opinion, I don't know how about you, Sparky. I know we've been busy all weekend with the Mac and Cheese Festival out in the fairgrounds on Saturday. Thank you to everybody who showed up, and thank you to everybody who participated last week to win tickets right here on this show. Hopefully we'll have more for you to win from us here in the upcoming weeks as well. But these games kind of been blowouts back to back outside of a handful of them. Let's get into some of them on Saturday, starting with the Lakers absolutely getting embarrassed by the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards. We thought this could potentially happen, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. However, they end up they end up losing the game. I'm sorry,
it was a 117-95
to
95. And were you shocked?
I was shocked just because it didn't seem like the Lakers came to play. It didn't seem like they knew what they were in for. And honestly, head coach JJ Redick echoed my entire thoughts and concerns right after the game. So let's hear from JJ.
They're one of the best teams in basketball. There's, I think, it's not to say our guys weren't like ready to withstand like a playoff level basketball game. We were mentally ready. I thought our spirit was right. I thought even when they made runs, our huddles were great. You know, the communication was great. I'm not sure physically we were ready, if that makes sense. And really when they started playing with a lot of thrust and physicality, like we just didn't respond immediately to that. And then that stretch from the start of the second through, 4 or 5 minutes to go in the third, we lost that stretch by 34. So that's a blowout.
They absolutely got bullied. It was honestly kind of interesting to watch because without a guy like Anthony Davis underneath to really help solidify your defense and stop people from getting inside on you, I didn't notice the massive hole that the Lakers now have interior because other guys like Hayes and, your big men have to fill that void. And LeBron's not known for being a stout big man defender. Let's just say that.
No, and we talked about, the NBA playoffs are really going to come down to matchups.
Yes.
And it looks like the Timberwolves are going to be tough on these Lakers. I know Luka got 37 points, 8 rebounds, but maybe that lack of defense is kind of what is going to be their kryptonite.
It's what's going to kill them eventually. I mean, but I know Stephen A. Smith came out this past weekend and claimed LeBron needs to step up. LeBron ended with 19 points, which is very under what he usually puts up. Austin Rivers only had 16 as well. I think this really falls upon the rest of the supporting cast. Because if you look at the rest of the guys who played, I mean, really only 3 bench players got in more than 3 to 6 minutes, but all of those guys only had 3 to 4 points. Actually, not even 3 and 2. So
yeah, they're going to need somebody to come up and get a double-digit game and
Right.
stay in this.
Whereas on the opposite side, the Timberwolves had multiple guys score. I mean, they had Reed off the bench with 23. Like, that's absurd. You cannot allow that if you're the bench players. You need some support if you're the Lakers, and that just can't happen in game 2.
Yeah, and this is LeBron talking about game 2.
They took home court from us tonight, as far as the series. But, we have an opportunity to even the series out on Tuesday, and we have to play a much better game than we did today. Like I said, we have to control the controllables, and if we do that, we're going to give ourselves a much better chance to win than we did tonight.
Honestly, this could be a concerning thing. This is the first time, if you're a Laker, that you've had home court advantage since LeBron has been a part of the team. This is the best probably you have ended your season in the number 3 hole. And I understand the Timberwolves are a very talented 6 seed. Probably should be higher than the 6 seed if we're being honest about it. And you're playing against one of the best in the entire league right now in Anthony Edwards. But you have to everybody has to step up if you're a Laker. Rui and Hayes have to do better interiorly when it comes to defense, and you have to get scoring from everybody else. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to keep up with this high-powered Timberwolves team. It's just not going to happen.
And keeping it in LA, Denver took game 1. It was a close one. They
Overtime.
took it 112 to 110.
This was the only one that was actually entertaining.
Yes,
in my opinion.
I was just going to say the same thing. And James Harden showed up.
I'm sorry. We should specify. This is the only game on Saturday that was
Saturday.
entertaining, because there was one game yesterday of the 4 that was entertaining as well. But
that's the one I was falling asleep to.
Well, that was also the last game of the week, so it was a lot to take in. But yes, the Nuggets, unexpectedly, in my opinion, going against the hottest team in basketball right now, the Clippers, pull off a win in game 1 in overtime. Jokic himself had to pretty much carry the team as he usually does. 29 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds. Aaron Gordon, though, actually showed up. I'm very surprised. 25 points, 8 rebounds. Looks like he is fully healthy, and you need him defensively specifically to actually lead this team anywhere, because that's how the Nuggets were able to win the championship a few years ago. They were the number 1 defensive team in the entire league. And if you can harness that, it is so much easier to win playoff games. You have to essentially do what the Timberwolves did to the Lakers. Frustrate the supporting cast to the point where they can't score, and allow the star, because the stars are going to shine in the playoffs regardless. Your Lukas, your Anthony Edwards, it's going to be very hard to stop them from scoring 20 to 30 points during the playoffs. So why not suffocate the rest of the team? And I think that if the Nuggets can figure out how to do that, because obviously James Harden actually showed up in this game, 32 points, 11 assists. Kawhi Leonard looks great. He showed up in this game. So really, you have to figure out a way to suffocate Zubac and all the rest of the supporting cast to make it easier on yourselves going forward.
Yeah, I think this one is one of the better series I think that we're going to see.
Oh, yeah. This one might go 7.
And this is Leonard on the post game.
The same process, just see what we did wrong and, try to figure it out. I mean, it was the turnovers tonight, so we got to try to limit that and be better next game. I mean, it's just game 1. Denver's a good team, especially at home. And, yeah, I mean, you still got game 2 to play.
This is going to be an interesting series. I think you're right, Sparky. We may get this going long term. But it is – I have to point something out, though, when it comes to the Nuggets, because there's been a development in the Malone situation that I wanted to bounce off of you. The ownership has come out and said that they fully believe in the roster itself that is in Denver, which is why they moved on from Malone and the GM, who clearly wanted to do something different than what the ownership had planned. But what apparently from what has been passed down is ownership wanted Malone to essentially take minutes away from Russell Westbrook and give them to the supporting cast, the younger guys that are coming up. And Malone didn't want to do that, especially not close to the playoffs. You're going to change the entire chemistry of the game and blah, 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 blah. So, and this was posed this past weekend. I'll ask this question to you. Does that actually sound like a ownership that believes in its front office, or I'm sorry, believes in its roster? Or does it sound more like there was some sort of personal issue that they didn't like how the team was being run?
I think it's probably a little both. I mean, really, I think I kind of agree with Malone. You don't mess with something that close. That's something you do mid-season. And if you had faith in your coaching, you wouldn't have these meetings right before, the end of the regular season.
Right.
But I I mean, I can see both sides. I mean, I could see as a team owner on wanting to get more minutes for the youngins, but let the coach.
Well,
But there was definitely some conflict, that we've talked about for weeks.
Yeah.
With the coaching all the way up to the GM and
Right.
really the owners now.
And the GM and the coach did not get along. That is a 100% certainty. Malone did not like the GM, or at least they did not get along in a basketball sense. But to point this out too, last night's game for the Nuggets, 4 of their 5 starters played 40 plus minutes, 45 plus minutes, actually. Jamal Murray had 48. Westbrook came off the bench with 34 minutes. Guess who the next highest was?
Who's that?
Watson with 14. Pickett had 5. So if we really were mad at Coach Malone for not playing the young guys and only playing Russell Westbrook off the bench,
it doesn't look like they changed much.
No, not at all. So I don't believe that's true. I think that you just didn't like the way Malone was running it. You didn't like the way that the players were, I guess, reacting to Malone's coaching style.
And I see that with a lot of teams with veteran older coaches. These aren't the young guys that you're going to come in and push around and tell them how to coach. And I think that's one of the main issues. And that might be, who comes in as the next head coach. Somebody they can manipulate and push around and, let the managers be managers. But
I see a trend as well that old players obviously are going to continue to become GMs and stuff like that. Obviously, we saw Max Crosby last week, and Steph Curry is the assistant GM at his old college as well. But when it comes to that kind of a thing, take JJ Redick, for example. When you're the Lakers and you say that you weren't ready or prepared physically for a game like that, what do you mean? You've been preparing for this all year. It's not like any of these guys that are on your team haven't been in a playoff situation. LeBron James, Luka, a lot of these guys have been to the finals. So you know what it takes physically to play in the playoffs. So that's not a very good answer as a coach, in my opinion, just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Now, you're looking for a reason why you guys lost. Sure. But this is why you need someone like Malone, who will stand up and say, no, we weren't prepared. These guys came out flat. We had an entire game plan. Didn't work out. That's why you need to be held accountable. JJ's answer of, well, we just weren't prepared physically. Like,
what are you expecting?
It's a weak answer to me.
When you see the matchup, you're playing the Timberwolves.
Right, exactly. And it's not like these guys were coming in slouched or anything. Like, you knew what you were coming into. You just didn't get you didn't get the play from everybody that you needed.
Well, game 2 is going to be a big one for the Lakers, because if they go down 0-2, that might just make it a little tougher. And I don't see it because they don't have they have Luka and LeBron, but like you'd mentioned, if the bench players or the guys that are supposed to be the final pieces,
right,
they might not have enough.
No, not at all. And at least offensively, you have Austin Reeves, who's a fantastic scorer, but who else is going to step up and help contribute to the win? Because as much as we love to talk about the guys who score 30, 40 points, they never win the game by themselves. You always need the guys who scored 9, 8, 15, 10. It takes a herd to win these games in the playoffs. But before we get into the Eastern Conference, let's take a break, my friend, and pay some bills. We have plenty more to talk about for the rest of the hour. And as we said, our friend Adam Resendez will be joining us in the 8 o'clock to talk about the WWE experience down in Las Vegas. He got to experience it live and in person. So I want
to see how much he had to spend.
I know that's my other question as well. But I did get to see a little bit of the social media side of it, at least all of the stuff that they were leaking from behind the scenes. But we'll get a firsthand experience from Adam in the second hour of the Early Bird Special, which you are listening to right now on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield, and streaming live video on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I had to wait for that.
Oh, should see Burdick right now.
I apologize. Yeah, if you're watching the YouTube stream, I am jittery as heck because now, full disclosure, I stopped drinking energy drinks years ago just because of the health of it all, and I wanted to cut back on all of that. I'm trying to cut back on sodas right now too.
See,
And
that's the tough one for me.
it is, yeah, it's a tough one for me too. I grew up on them, but it has been a very, very long weekend of work and sport and WrestleMania and all of this stuff. So I am on very little sleep, and I had a energy drink in my fridge that was given to me a week ago from a friend. So I decided, all right, I may need this today. I took a drink before the show, and if you notice that I was
And it
running
worked.
at a million miles a minute when we started this Tang show, blabbing my head off. I apologize.
Oh, no.
I had to chug some water when those audio bites were going just to calm myself down.
Well, I will just as we wrapped up the Clippers and Nuggets game 2 will be tonight 6:30 p.m. You can hear it right here on ESPN Bakersfield. But jumping over to the East on Saturday.
We want to start with the Knicks, or we want to start with
the
the
Knicks, man. The Knicks beat the Pistons
on a 21-0 run at the end of the game. Now, okay, if you are JB Bickerstaff, you cannot allow this. Are you nuts? 21. I mean, I unfortunately got to. I say unfortunately because I am rooting for the Pistons in this series.
Oh, really?
I am.
I'm going Knicks, man.
I am a Piston. I don't like the Pistons for obvious reasons, but this team I can ride behind because they're young, they're chippy, they're gritty, and I love JB Bickerstaff, who was a longtime coach for the Cavaliers before he went to Detroit. Before Cleveland moved on from Bickerstaff and he left for Detroit. Let's put it that way. But if you are JB Bickerstaff and your young team is allowing a 21-0 run, Jalen Brunson, I believe, had 36 points at the end of this game. You have to calm them down and say, hey,
slow it down.
Like, we got to bring it back to defense, boys. Calm down. Just get one stop and we'll make this all work. But no, the Knicks came to play, at least in the fourth quarter when they turned it all on. And honestly, I'm impressed. But let's hear from Coach Tibbs on their mentality.
We have to take a look at the film. Obviously, there's things that we're going to have to do a lot better. It's one win, and then we got to reset and get ready for the next one. So, understand what goes into it, and there's a lot of things that we can do better.
There are, and again, the Knicks aren't playing to the best of their ability yet, which is very scary to say. But the playoffs is definitely where a lot of these guys shine. Especially Jalen Brunson. This is where this guy has really made his career, is in the playoffs. So we will see how this all turns out. I still believe the Pistons have a good shot to turn this around now.
What about the Pacers-Bucks game? I thought that one would be a lot better. You've told me several times, I don't catch a lot of Pacers games, but the Pacers put up a lot of points.
They did, and they will forever put up a lot of points because their entire cast can score. I believe the entire starting five were in double digits. I know Evans was really I love Evan Turner. He is absolutely the spark plug of this Pacers team and has been forever. The guy is super underrated as a five, but with the entire team, with Halliburton and oh God, who else is on their starting five? I can't remember at the moment, but regardless, they all score at a very premium rate. Now, the Milwaukee game, I feel like, is desperately missing Damian.
Yes, and he will be back,
Yes,
I believe, game 2 or 3. I saw that it got a little chippy on the sideline during that game because
Pascal, that's what I was trying to think of. Pascal Siakam was the one that really was the highlight of the night for the Pacers.
He put up 26 points, 7 rebounds.
When you look at the Bucks have a very similar situation as the Lakers, at least did this in game 1. Giannis went off, as he always will. 36 points. He had 12 rebounds. I mean, the stud. He's always going to go off for you. Everybody else, where you at? And now, granted, you had 3 players in double figures. You had Gary Trent, who had 14. Kevin Porter Jr. had 12. And A.J. Green had 15, all off the bench. But now I have to look at your starters. Where you at? Where's the support? I know you're used to Giannis being there and leading you to a championship, but you don't have Chris Middleton on the team right now. You don't have Damian Lillard at the moment. You need somebody to step up and really be that guy to help Giannis put him over the top, because looking at this game, they lost 117-98. You put Damian Lillard in this game, they most likely win. Damian is an easy 20 to 30 points a game. So they really are just missing Damian Lillard, in my personal opinion. But
they better hope he comes back for game 2, because if they go down 0-2,
it's going to be very hard to scrap back and win 4 in a row. But at this point, you never know how this is going to end. The Milwaukee game really just depends on how much they can get out of their stars, because as we've seen from the supporting cast, unless Kevin Porter Jr. is going to go off for 20 off the bench, you're not expecting much. And I don't know. Here's Giannis, though, on trying to beat Indy on the road, because it is very, very difficult to win in Indianapolis.
It's a team that plays really good basketball. It's a team that you got to compete. They're not going to give it to you. You got to go out there and take it from them. And I think, just to simplify things, in order for us to win the series, we got to win on the road. So simple. We just got to figure out the way to win. The moment we watch film, we're going to figure out the way, and then we're going to come back.
I love and hate when they use that as a reason. You have to win on the road. That's duh.
Like, where else are you going to win?
Especially if you don't have home court advantage. Obviously, you're going to have to win on the road, Giannis. But again, this entire series is interesting to me, but I'm going to bounce this question off you, my friend, and we'll get to the Sunday games after we take another break here. But out of these 4 games that we just talked about right now, which one of these teams are you worried about the most? Who do you think is probably in trouble?
I think it's the Lakers.
Do you think Lakers are in trouble?
Personally, yeah. The way the Timberwolves came out, I just think if they don't snap it back real quick and hope that somebody gets hot off that bench, they're going to be in trouble, especially if they lose game 2.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Lakers can get streaky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you have LeBron and Luka and, even Reeves, I just think that one. I mean, I think the Bucks will be all right if they can stay in game 2 and kind of even it out, and hopefully they get Lillard back. I think the Knicks and Pistons and the Nuggets and Clippers are going to both be good series. Exactly. But I mean, that for the Saturday games, I mean, there is other teams that we'll talk about after the break that I think are in deeper trouble.
Absolutely. But I have to agree with you that on paper, it looks like the Lakers are the most in trouble out of the Saturday games. Thinking outside the box here, though, I think Denver is also a team that's in trouble, only because I know everybody's sitting there. What do you talk about? They won. I understand.
But the Clippers
are hot, and that took a game of perfect basketball from the Denver Nuggets' starting 5, essentially, and everybody had to stay on the court the entire game. As we've talked about with the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, that doesn't work, especially long term. So what you're doing is you're just burning yourself out. You need to calm down. You need to allow the supporting cast to fill in as well. And you got to get these guys off the floor eventually. So I think the Nuggets are actually in a lot of trouble just thinking of it outside of the box of the game.
Well, what do you guys think? If you have a different take, text it in, call it in 661-842-2000. We'll cover the Easter games from yesterday right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. You know what's weird?
So many things.
Many things about me. I'm sorry. What's weird about me? This song, Jesus Walks.
Kanye?
Yes, Kanye.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, Kanye.
Love Kanye.
And like unfortunately, Kanye for what's going on.
Yes.
And multiple rock songs randomly will pop up in my head as I'm just walking around, and I'll catch myself humming them for no reason at all. I haven't even heard the song in like a week, but it'll just pop up. It's so odd. Anyways, welcome back to the early bird special. Sorry, just
Man,
give
you
me a
should
little.
drink more of those.
Uh,
I like this.
I
I
pull
like
the
this
curtain back
verdict.
every so often. I pull the curtain back every so often.
Well, we'll keep it in the East on Easter Sunday.
we don't want
Celtics.
we don't want to talk about the big embarrassing match first.
We will.
Okay,
We will. I'm
we'll
going to
get
give
to
you
that one.
some love for that one. But
Okay.
the Celtics take game 1 over Orlando in fashion.
Easy fashion too. But again, this is another example, and I think a lot of these blowouts is exactly what happened. Your stars came to play, your supporting cast didn't. I mean, Paolo had 36 points, Franz had 23. The rest of the team, nowhere to be found. We got multiple guys, even Corey Joseph, who's a starter, had 0. He shot 1 shot the entire game, 1 3-pointer.
And it got scary because once Tatum went down with the right injury, he landed on it on a hard foul. They took him back, and I thought, oh, here we go. And luckily,
guys like Jason don't take plays off.
Well, luckily he got the X-rays and came right back. And this is what Tatum had to say after the win.
How's the wrist? What happened there on that play?
It's all right. I just fell on it, landed on it.
Was it just like a singer, or like you didn't wrap it up, but can you explain what the sensation was, or did it just go away, or is it something that you think is going to bother you?
No, I just landed on it. Was throbbing for a second. Kind of went away.
We shook it off.
That's most stars will try to do, especially in the playoffs, because you can't have these types of games. But Derek White really was the star of this entire game for the Celtics. Had 30 points as a starter, 36 minutes. This guy shows up in the playoffs more often than not, too. He's another one of those guys for the Celtics that just doesn't get a lot of love for what he does. And without this big game from him, like you said, Tatum going down with the wrist injury, Jalen didn't look great. He only shot 6 of 14 from the field. He didn't make a single 3-pointer all game. It was a messy game if you're a Celtics fan, but you're happy with the outcome of it all, winning 103-86 against a young team that's pretty defensively stout, missing their best defensive guard, in my opinion, in Jalen Suggs. But at this point, if you can continue to do this and have success, then there's no reason to believe that they can't walk out of this series at least in 5 to 6 games. I think the Magic get 1 or 2 on them at home.
And I sure hope you were right, because the Cavs smashed the Heat.
I promised you.
I just hope it's 4 games and out. Let's go.
You know what? After watching last night, I'm not 100% sure, because Miami loves to stick around. But I made one promise to Sparky last week after his Bulls got destroyed again by the Miami Heat, and that was that my Cavaliers would avenge him. Yes. And it is 100% factual, and is 100% going to happen. Why? Because we have the best team in basketball.
Well, it was 121-100, and I was happy to hear Donovan Mitchell after the game.
Just setting the tone. I'm just trying to be aggressive, making the defense have to react to me. Pretty much my mindset every time, I get out there. Because honestly, you really evaluate the series. You kind of go to film. This is the first time having film. You can watch all the film from the regular season. But, for me, just trying to be aggressive from the jump, first playoff game, and go from there.
But I think you're right, because I think the Heat will stick around, but I just don't think they have enough power.
No,
not for
again,
Cleveland.
As we stated, Miami, Chicago, a lot of these teams that were in the play-in are one superstar away from really being contenders. I genuinely believe if Chicago can make some sort of deal for maybe a Kevin Durant in the offseason, you could really see that team flourish. You'd have to give up something, obviously, probably, Kobe White or something to make it worth it to Phoenix to really make that trade, but it could potentially catapult you. And I think Miami's in the same boat. Honestly, Bam and Hero are fantastic. They really are. But I just don't know if they can do it on a consistent basis to really be seen as superstars. They're stars in their own right. I mean, Hero beat your Bulls, not to bring up a sore spot, but he had a perfect game. I mean, he really did. The guy went 8 for 8 in the first half. I'm pretty sure he was 10 for 10 for the game before he missed his first shot. It's very impressive. But when you're going up against a team like Cleveland, who has 4 stars on the starting 5 alone, not to mention the 3
heroes
off the bench, like it's going to be really tough.
Yeah.
And I just don't see them having enough. I really don't.
But here's Coach Spoelstra after the game.
They're a very good offensive team, as we know. And then the extra possessions, got them some extra life. I feel like we had it to, 7 points, probably 5 or 6 times. And then inevitably it'd be a loose ball turn out to be an offensive rebound, kick out 3, or just generate a 3 to keep it back to double digits. But, we'll have to be better in those areas, for sure. We'll get to work and see what else, we can maximize.
At this point, in my personal opinion, watching as a Cavaliers fan, I think the Heat need better guard defense, or defense from their guards, rather, because you had Mitchell, Garland, and Ty Jerome off the bench, all scoring 20 plus. In fact, I think they all had over 27 points. Now, big men, they locked them down. Evan Mobley had a really bad game. Jarrett was good, but he had to earn every basket he made. Like, it was really great from Bam Adebayo down low, but the defense from up top in the front court was not. I'm sorry, the back court rather was not there at all. So that is where you need to actually turn this around if you want the Miami Heat to win any games against Cleveland.
And that was a big win, but even a bigger one with OKC demolishing Memphis by 51 points in a playoff game.
Were we surprised?
No,
at all.
Not at all.
What did we say coming into this? Memphis did not deserve to be in the playoffs. I'm sorry, they didn't. Everything going on with their team, the absolute dumpster fire they became at the end of the year, firing the head coach, everybody just in
jogging in trouble again.
Yeah, this was going to happen.
Man, I got home after church, and they were down by, I believe, 30-32, and I had to double look. I was like, what?
But see, is this a testament to how good the Thunder are, or how bad the Memphis Grizzlies are?
Well,
exactly.
This is Jaw after the game.
Defensive intensity. They had a lot of easy looks, was pretty much getting to, wherever they wanted on the floor. And offensively, taking care of the ball.
The only good thing about this game is that if you are a bench player for the Memphis Grizzlies, you played a whole quarter. That's about as much as I got for you.
Yep, pretty much. And you think this one's over?
This is done.
It was over before it started?
Yeah, this series is not going anywhere. This might be the only sweep of the entire first round.
I sure hope not.
This could be. Memphis, as talented as they are, did not show up in any way, shape, or form. Jock could say defensive intensity all he wants. Your offense didn't show up. You scored 80 points, big guy. 80. They scored 131. Come on. This is the playoffs.
Yeah,
where
this
are you
shouldn't
guys
happen.
at? You guys had such fire against the Warriors.
A team shouldn't lose by 50 anything in the playoffs.
And then you guys walked over Dallas. So come on, man. Where is it? Where is your line? That's where I don't understand. Like, what is the ceiling for the Memphis Grizzlies and what is the floor? Because every time we put John Morant's ceiling so high,
something like this
proves to us that it's actually down here. And it's like, brother, you are one of the best point guards in the league. Arguably could be the face of the league if it all made, or if it all turned around for him. It's just like Zion. We had such promise and faith and just hope that these two would become incredible superstars. And we've seen just flashes of it, but neither of them can get out of their own way. And that's what arguably bugs me the most, is just get out of your own way, and just you could be just one of the best, but he just can't do that.
No, and I think they're going back to your question in the last segment. I think that's the team that's really in the deepest of trouble in the playoffs right now. And then wrapping up game 1 in the NBA playoffs was Golden State last night, getting the win over Houston, which we kind of saw it, but I think this one is is going to be a deep series.
This one got closer than it shows on the scoreboard. There was a point where the Rockets were down 3, I think, and if they have any bit of a semi-decent game from Jalen Green like they're used to, they probably would have won this, in my personal opinion. But
I know Steph finished with 31 points, 6 rebounds.
He did.
And this is Draymond talking about how, Steph, just gets game time.
Today's day and age, it's impossible to not hear anything. You open your phone up, even if you're not looking at something, somebody's going to send you a DM or somebody's going to send you a message of something off Instagram. Like, that's just the nature of the world we live in. So I think it's impossible for anybody to not hear anything. But like I said, at the end of the day, we're not coming out here trying to prove a point. We've been at this for a very long time to try to prove a point because someone said X is pointless. We're trying to win basketball games, and in order for us to win basketball games, it requires Steph Curry to be great. He was just that.
And playoff Jimmy.
Yep, absolutely.
Playoff Jimmy showed up, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. That's a guy you trade for.
Absolutely. And again, that's why they traded for him. They needed that spark in the playoffs to make any kind of a run. This is why people believe that they are more than likely the second best team in the West right now. And again, the number 1 defensively rated team since acquiring Jimmy Butler. And that matters. Defense will get you far in the playoffs in the NBA, especially since these games go these series go 7 games. And if you look at it this way, they got exactly what we what we have been preaching this entire time. They had the supporting cast there. I mean, Podziemski had 14 points. Moody had 7. You got Peyton off the bench with 7. These guys are contributing in different ways, especially defensively, and that bodes well. And unfortunately for the Rockets, it's pretty much what I said. They showed up to play, but the experience of playoff basketball matters. And when your star is struggling, they were talking about this during the game. When your star is struggling like Green was to score, he only had 5 points in the first 3 quarters. He ended with 7. You need someone else to step up to be that guy. And the team had Sengun step up with 26. However, everybody else was kind of teetering. My personal opinion, you need Jabari Smith to be that guy. You need Jabari Smith to really step up and be the player that he is capable of being. I have been waiting for this guy to be the player he was in college and just at least average 15 and 7. And he continuously gets put on the bench, comes off as a 6th man. And I understand that might be the strategy that the Rockets want to run. But at this point, you need him to really step up, especially when Jalen Green is struggling. Because if you get guys like that, it won't matter if a guy like Jalen Green can't score the basketball because they're playing such great defense on him.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game 2 for Houston, and they're going to need that one. More game 2. We'll get into the NBA playoffs all throughout the week as game 2 start today with the Pistons and Knicks at 4:30, and then the Clippers and Nuggets with coverage starting at 6:30 right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m. 101.1 FM.
I'm calling Pistons to even the series.
You think so?
I think so. I think Pistons even the series tonight.
I think the Clippers do too.
I think the Clippers do as well. I think these 2 series are going to be the ones that are really going to be competitive. And it really showed to me that, again, like I said, I think Denver is more in trouble than people think, because when you're burning the candle at both ends, even if you were a championship style team, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt eventually. And you're not as young as you were when you won the championship. Just saying.
Well, you want to run down these awards real quick?
Yeah, actually, let's get into this a little bit because we didn't get a chance to actually talk about this last week. I know I mentioned a little bit with our guy Bolt Brady on the potentials of who's going to win the MVP in the NBA and all this other stuff. But at least the finalists for each of these awards were announced yesterday during the games. Let's go into actually just the big ones mostly. What do we got for Coach of the Year first?
Coach of the Year would be the Rockets coach, the Pistons with Bickerstaff, like we just talked about, and Cleveland's coach, Kenny Atkinson.
Okay. Well, I mean, bias, obviously, but in my personal opinion, between Ime Udoka, JB Bickerstaff, and Atkinson, I love Atkinson, obviously, but I do not believe he deserves to be in this conversation because Cleveland was good when he got there.
Yeah.
So I personally think it should go to JB Bickerstaff because JB Bickerstaff took a notoriously terrible Pistons team and made him a playoff contender, and not a play-in contender, a playoff contender. And now, granted, the East is weak, but they still turned around their season. And again, I have a lot of faith that they could pull off an upset in this playoff. So I think JB Bickerstaff kind of deserves to win this award.
And then the sixth man of the year, it comes down to Boston's Peyton Pritchard, Cavs Ty Jerome, or Pistons Malik Beasley.
Yeah, I got to go with Ty Jerome. I'm sorry. This one, I will be a homer. Ty Jerome has killed for Cleveland all year long. I mean, you saw it in game 1, 28 points off the bench. The guy is a stud. If he doesn't stay with Cleveland, he will most likely go and start for any other team in the NBA right now. He's an absolute stud. And Pritchard is great. Don't get me wrong. He can shoot threes, and he's always been a consistent scorer for Boston. But Jerome has just come out of nowhere this year, and I think he has the shine that you need for the sixth man of the year.
And then the rookie of the year, it's got the Grizzlies, Jalen Wells, Hawks, Zachary Razaker, and the Spurs, Stephon Castle, which, the Spurs
had an off year, obviously, with Wemby being benched for the rest of the year for blood clot reasons and stuff. It's the same thing that Damian Lillard is dealing with at the moment as well. It is not life-threatening, but they do want to, make sure it's not going to get worse, I guess is the best way to put it. Rookies this year, in my opinion, were kind of lackluster. There wasn't a whole ton of shine from any of these guys. However, the Hawks rookie, Zachary, I cannot remember how to actually pronounce his last name either, though. I'd have to actually look at it, and I don't have it in front of me. But he has actually shined throughout the rest of the season and really stepped up for a Hawks team that was looking for a second guy after they moved on from Murray last year. And Trey has still kind of just been out on a lamb for himself and trying to figure out what he can do in Atlanta as a superstar. And I think he just came through at a pivotal time for the Hawks that when they needed a guy to really step up.
I agree with that one. I like Wells, but Memphis has been up and down just like his season. And then going over to the defensive player of the year, Atlanta's Dyson Daniels, Draymond, and the Cavs, Evan Mobley.
Evan is a stud, but he's not going to win this award this year.
Who do you think is?
I think it's going to be Dyson. I think Dyson, again, much like Zachary, they were just shockingly good at what they did and were the best. Dyson led the league in steals, and he's just a consistent lockdown on defense when you need him to be. Now, unfortunately, it didn't translate for success for Atlanta in the play-in tournament, but he himself is not really the reason they lost those games. He was a stud and did everything he could too. So I got to give it to Dyson.
And then the big award, MVP, Bucks Giannis, OKC's SGA, of course, and then Denver's Joker.
SGA.
I don't even have to say it right.
It's SGA
by far.
100%. SGA leading this Thunder's team to a ridiculous amount of wins. Number one in the West, nowhere close to like anybody being in the contention for number one. And he's done it from start to finish. He's a consistent scorer from anywhere on the court. He's number 2 in steals in the NBA. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. And let's be honest, we've seen Joker win this enough. We've seen Giannis win this enough. And there is voter biases and voter fatigue when all of these guys start winning way too much. And honestly, it's SGA's year. I think if we really want to boil down who's the most important player to their team and to the NBA as a whole, nobody is more important to their team more than SGA is to the Thunder.
Yeah, I couldn't see it any other way. We'll take this break, and then we'll come back with our Motivation Monday to kick off your week. And then we'll have Adam join us at the top of the hour to share his WrestleMania experience right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
What if we have that kind of attitude? The car's repossessed. Nobody believes in you. You lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day and saying to yourself, it's not over until I win.
They will not put out more content than me. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode. I beast mode my way to number 1.
The feeling of failure, the feeling of shame.
Where's your motivation?
But you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs.
This is amazing. I feel incredible. Yes, 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 yes. I can win. I feel great. I can do this. Ugh.
Oh, it always brightens my day when I get to hear Piccolo. It is Motivation Monday here on the Early Bird Special. And honestly, this week it was I've been sitting on this one for quite some time. If you grew up playing the Madden games, you know exactly where I'm going with this. There is only one man in football that can just motivate the hell out of a stadium just with his presence, and yet his energy while playing just mimics exactly his words every time. Now, whether you love this man or you hate this man, you can't deny he is arguably one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. And if you played Madden, you know exactly which speech I'm going with here, because the speech right in the beginning, the intro of the game of Madden 13, still will put just energy in your spine. So let's hear from the great Ray Lewis. If you have played Madden, I swear that hits you every single time. I know I've played plenty of rounds against this next guy we're going to be talking to here. But Ray Lewis, I mean, I couldn't find the one that I really wanted to use, but this one pretty much eclipses a lot of what he speaks of every time before his games. And you can see many, many other speeches online that he's done to high schools across the country. The motivation, the energy, and all of that comes from your day. Remember, it comes from yourself. It comes from the belief in yourself, and it comes from everything that you are willing to give in order to be great at what you want to be great at. And I think that's what Ray Lewis does the best, or at least imitates and speaks out the best, is if you are willing to put everything forward and all of the energy forward, it doesn't matter how small you are or how unathletic you are, or how much you can do on a field or in your own home or even at work. All it matters is how much you are willing to put forward and how much you're willing to sacrifice to be great. So,
that is beautifully said. It is your Motivational Monday, so get your shoes on, go to work, and go kick some ass
at some point in your day. But for right now, we got to take a break, pay some bills. You're listening to the Early Bird Special. WrestleMania 41 was over the weekend in Vegas, and we had a friend there live and in person. He's going to tell us his experience live from the WWE experience in the WWE universe. You're listening to the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, we are on YouTube. at the Early Bird Special, as well as Instagram at the Early Bird Special Official, TikTok as well, and Facebook. So go follow us on all social media platforms. We'll be right back after these words. And welcome back to the Early Bird Special Hour 2. And this past weekend was WrestleMania 41, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. And honestly, we'll get into our thoughts about the actual event as we go. But we have a friend here in studio who was able to experience the WWE experience, or at least the universe, live and in person. Our guy, Adam Resendez. What's up, buddy? How are you?
It's been a while.
I know.
I mean, this is a little like I feel like I used to be here.
Like your radio store? What's your code?
You're right.
Yeah,
oh
really.
my gosh, don't you know? It's been a while to be on this other side, but you know,
Right.
I have a podcast now too that we're.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, pump it up. What is it?
It's This Isn't Chicken.
This Isn't Chicken. Okay, what are you guys talking
It
about?
grabs you everything. You
Everything?
know? I mean, not just like my brother. It's my brother, my best friend, and myself, and they're big movie guys. So we dabble in the movies. We're also big nerd when it comes to collecting things.
Absolutely.
So that's
Me
a big
too.
thing. A lot of my toys and stuff like that.
Nice.
And dabble in wrestling. Sometimes we'll get into sports, but it's just like
but obviously, because you have a long history of coaching youth football, at least. I mean, are you coaching basketball now too?
I'm off right now.
Are you?
I'm not watching any basketball on TV just because during the off season for sports, if I'm coaching it, I'm not watching it during my off season.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. You're burnt out by the end of the season.
And you'll know this because we coach together. It's a lot. It's a big commitment. You know that. But I felt basketball was way more just draining and because demanding. You only have one gym.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to split it with the boys team and the girls team. Sometimes you get late at night. Football, it's go find your space.
Right.
You're done right after school, 6 o'clock, couple hours. yeah, dude, it's just taxing, man.
Well,
but
going back to
my vacation.
That's
now.
awesome.
Absolutely.
And how can they hear the podcast?
We're just getting it going. We want to just kind of take our time, do it, just get everything in place. We've recorded a couple things. It'll be on the streaming, all the Apple and
all that.
Spotify.
Sweet.
Yeah, we have
Well,
Instagram.
keep us in the loop once it starts.
Yeah, no,
rolling.
for sure. I appreciate it.
So WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's my vacation.
And how much did that cost? First of all, because it looked like, I know it's called the Fanatics Experience, and it looked insane seeing all the videos streaming. And I saw the after night one, people trying to get to their hotel. Wow.
That cost wise, I don't think my wife's listening. But hey, tax season rolls around when it right at the perfect
tax
time,
breaks, baby.
They know
that's what the kids are for.
Exactly.
Hey.
Hey, I gave my wife 4 days in Disneyland before.
There you go.
And,
there you go.
So you get a couple days at
yeah,
WrestleMania. That's the trade-off.
It was my brother's bachelor party.
Nice.
Oh,
My brother's
nice.
getting married.
I know.
and,
Actually, tell him congratulations for me. I keep meaning to reach out to him.
No, I will absolutely. And so we wanted to. What bigger, for being wrestling fans is to go experience it when it's on the West Coast, because I don't see it being on the West Coast for another 4 to 5 years.
No, probably not.
So we wanted to make a weekend out of it and have a real reason to go, and it just so happens it's in Vegas, so it's like that's like
perfect timing.
When someone's getting married, you go to Vegas, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
we went and did things that usually you don't do in Vegas. We're a bunch of guys going to wrestling conventions, and, things like that. But
no gambling, nothing like that happened.
No, it really didn't. It was like we're almost too busy, and just that superstore too sucks you dry as well. So it's like I don't have any money for to put anything on the table.
The replica belts and all this. I saw they were signed helmets for football players and stuff. Like it was nuts.
It's everything you could want, right there in front of you. Just like it's almost like a Best Buy in a way. It kind of looks like if you
really for wrestling.
Yeah, and I've been before. I've been twice, 31, 39, and this is probably the craziest I've seen the store.
Really?
It was just nuts. And I'm sure you guys have seen the things on you or Instagram, like the reels and stuff. The line was really that long. But
wow.
When this is like an alter ego for me, so I'm gonna get very like,
yeah,
you're good. Do your stuff like that, it's
absolutely.
like,
well, I'm a collector, so I totally understand.
Well, if you want something, you got to put in almost the man hours to go get it.
Right.
So it opened. We drove in Wednesday, got there Thursday morning. We're like, okay, our plan is the store opens at 11. We waited from about 7 to opening.
Good God.
Right. So it's like
4 hours just waiting for it to open.
Dude, it's
that's
a little hard.
Dedication.
That's dedication.
Dude, it is, and it's like we're not the only one.
No, absolutely not.
So it's like
you were probably halfway down the line.
Actually, we were pretty close to the front.
Oh, were you really?
Okay. We were at least the first in between 50 to 100 people.
Right on.
And there it's first day. You want to make sure you get the exclusive stuff that's there. Like for me, they had a John Cena action figure, came with something that you can only get at WrestleMania.
Naturally.
Needed that for my kid. And it's like, how many are they going to have? Are they going to limit it to 2 per person? Or as what people did when they opened, they're just scooping them up by the hands to resell.
Like it's Black Friday.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm glad we got there when we did. Cause I can say I got pretty much everything I wanted.
Good.
But the line was just.
They give you a shopping cart?
No, they usually have bags, but dude, I'm walking in there. No joke.
Things.
I have like 2 figures. I have a couple of shirts and I have a cup, and I'm like this, walking around like, where can I go? And it's like the line to pay got ridiculously
was
long.
even worse.
Yeah, and that's the only way you can get a bag after you pay. You give it back, but they'll let you back in.
Right.
They had a memorabilia section for the belts and stuff, like you guys said. My buddy Nick Hronis.
Oh, okay, yeah,
he's he's a big belt guy in the memorabilia line. It took him probably like 45 minutes, and he was towards like the front of it. And what was cool though, you can pay in there as well, so it didn't make it too hard, to have to get out of that long line, go to the other one to pay. Almost a fight in that belt line.
I believe it.
Like, hey, the line's back there. Or, who are you? And it's
right.
Like,
I mean, when I first started watching wrestling, we had to get outside the warehouse 4 or 5 hours before just to get tickets to go to these events before. So I mean, we've done that, but I'm a big Undertaker collector, so I'm sure if I would have to bring my tax return and
I'm
wait in
sure.
line, and I would do it,
Yeah.
because there's only certain things that you get at these certain events. Luckily, I mean, the WWE still got my money. I mean, I bought 5 or 6 different boxes of cards when they first came out and was on a waiting list for that. And that wasn't cheap, but I can't even imagine. Luckily, my wife is listening and she wouldn't allow me to go this year. So, so what did you end up snagging?
I got a couple of the match card shirts.
Nice.
I was, I run on Tiffy time, so
Nice.
I had to grab that one. Got the, I was there. And
Did you think she chipped her tooth like the rest of
did.
us? I thought she actually chipped her tooth.
100%. I was like, the way she's just,
The way
she's doing it. And,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
She looked like she had chipped her tooth on one of those moves and absolutely just bared it out. But I don't. Apparently not.
She posted. She's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, okay,
so when you go to an event like this, so you were waiting in line, you didn't have to pay for that one, right?
No, for that one, you don't have to pay to get into the store. It's free.
Yeah.
But obviously
you're paying obviously when you
you're
walk
paying
in.
when
You're not going in there not to buy something.
Exactly.
So like I saw the pictures on your Instagram. So do you have to pay individually for these meet and greets?
See, the way they did it this year, it's been different. I think it's changed since like COVID and how popular wrestling's gotten. It's it's a business. It's all about making money. And I get that, make your money. And I would have paid the same thing I paid now, even though I'll compare it to WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 31, it was called Access, and you would have to pay individually for these top tier guys. Like back then, it was Cena, Orton, Rollins, Sting, Bray Wyatt, and those were like $120. Cena was maybe like $150 back then, and you go up there and they'll sign your stuff, take the picture, and that was it. And it's great, and they talk to you. Now you got to pay for the auto, and you got to pay for the photo. So the photo, to me, it's all about the photo nowadays. The autograph's great. I can get the autograph online,
Yeah.
But it is more special to get it there, of course. But and there's some that I will pay both for, as I did. And it could be 100 and something for the photo, $50 for the auto. So it's like that kind of sucks, but they're getting me regardless.
Right, yeah.
Especially for your favorite guy. And again, it's like I said, it's only going to be here. It's only West Coast so many times, and the last time, thankfully, it was Hollywood 2 years ago. But if it wasn't, then it's 10 years ago at 31 for me, and it's like I gotta go all out, and
So that's the thing that's open to public.
So the world actually, WWE World, where they're doing like the Stage McAfee show and all that, you do have to pay. I think that's like $70 to get in, and they do have generic like auto lines. It's called Superstar Row now, that you can just go up, get in line, and they'll sign it for free and all that. Which at the old Access, there used to be so many booths like sponsored by like Slim Jim or whatever energy drink they're doing, and they would have like good people. Like I met Kofi just sitting at one, or some legends like.
So it's pretty much Comic-Con.
It is.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Oh yeah, it is. But I told my brother this when we were in line. I'm like, what do you think? Is this worse than getting? Because we get in line early for Comic-Con too to get in.
Right.
And I was like, man, I don't know. And then like after, it's Comic-Con doesn't come close in the insanity to a WrestleMania convention like that. WrestleMania World Access, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's top to bottom, just like it's a different beast. Like my legs, I can't even believe I have them. Like, they hurt so bad right now, and it's just
from all
it's
them,
nuts. And the lines, and I had, and my brother and Nick make fun of me like on Friday. I had 5 meet and greets on that day alone at World, and it's like, did you not look at the times? We have SmackDown at 5. Are you crazy?
Right.
Yeah, I am. Because I met first day on Thursday. I met Jade.
Nice.
Jade was great. Tiffy on that day and Nikki Bella. And then the next day it was Bailey, my goat.
Really?
I'm just not a fan of Bailey.
I'm gonna say the stats are there, man.
Man, she should have retired a couple years ago.
I want to retire. Not yet.
Give her at least
yet.
3-4 more years.
I don't
and
need
then
her
we'll
to get
talk
messed up
about
by
it.
Tony Khan.
Oh yeah, no, please no. We
So
don't
you
need to
did.
move it
I know
over.
you brought a message. It was the
yeah.
yes.
So okay. So yeah. So also, there's so many stuff going around.
Yeah.
It's it's not. I always want everyone to remember why we're here. We're here for the show. We're here for Mania.
Right.
That's what everyone gets you because I feel like the AEW stuff has kind of calmed down. Like, oh, well, AEW is better. Okay, well, remember why you're here.
Yeah.
What got us here? WrestleMania did. So they have other things going on. Shows that we went to a show Thursday night, another podcast show, and before that we went to WrestleCon, another event like World, but this is meet and greets, more fairly priced, by stars that are on AEW or on the Indies, or you don't see as much like that. A lot of legends. Kevin Nash was there, one that I will regret not. That my brother met him. He said he was so cool. He sat down like I am here and just chatted and all of that stuff.
So guys that were there for
Bigger,
Hall of Fame and stuff like that.
Right.
I saw Nash at that one too.
Mike Tyson was there. Ronda Rousey was at this one.
Nice.
Still, like I said, fairly priced. Like to meet Nash, I think it was for both. It was $100 combo.
Oh, sweet.
Which is to me
much more doable. Yeah.
And it's like him. Yeah,
that's pretty much what we paid for Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See, Mick's line was huge. He was there too. But then you have someone like Carmella who's there, who's cool and all that. But $100 for a combo, and it's like,
yeah, is it really worth?
You got Nash asking for $100.
Now I understand why Indy Hartwell's line was so short.
Oh, I saw that reel too, and I felt and she was on my list, but
I felt bad though because I'm like, okay, how much were you charging though?
Hers is like I think it was $50 for both.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
Right?
Go get some sign from Indy
here's
Hartwell.
the thing though. Did you already spend all your money at WrestleCon and you still got or at World, or you still got someone to meet that you're waiting? Because I was waiting to meet Britt Baker, and then I was meeting to meet Saraya Page, who is on my Mount Rushmore of NXT. Now, sir.
So, all right, hold on. We have to set the table for this because now, again, me and Adam have known each other for years.
I've known you since you're in kindergarten.
This is true. It
is 100%
we
true.
have coached together. We've coached football together. He coached my friends when we played football as well. I unfortunately did not play on the team he coached, but knowing that we were both wrestling fans, we were getting into a conversation months ago when in NXT, the women's champion, Stephanie Vicaire, won both belts. She had won the main title belt, which is the NXT Women's Champion, as well as their mid-card belt, the North American Championship. I had went to our social medias, as I normally do, and I am a massive Stephanie Vicaire fan since before she came to WWE.
You and everyone else, and I don't get it, and I do like her, but
again, she's fantastic. What do you mean you don't get it? She's one of the best luchadors I've ever seen. All right. Anyways, this had brought up the entire argument between me and Mr. Resendez here of who
debate.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a debate. We weren't cussing at each other.
Not yet.
It was very spirited, but it came up obviously as wrestling fans do, Mount Rushmore of women on NXT. And in my personal opinion, I said Becky Lynch, Bayley, Roxanne Perez, and now Stephanie Vicaire. Now, again, recency bias, I give you. My friend here had brought up a very good point that I leave off. Paige, who was technically the first ever Divas double champion.
She had a main title.
I understand. But
title,
she did not have two in NXT, and we have to remember that NXT is a completely separate entity.
Showed up too. She did. She had the women's NXT, who was the first ever women's NXT champion.
I understand.
And the main one.
I get that. And
she was on NXT when they said, hey, I don't know how this is going to work.
that was a good choice, but at the same time, we also have to take into effect that Saraya left, has continued her career post WWE.
Sure.
And these women that I have put on the Mount Rushmore are all still mainstays within the company.
Okay, but I think you did mention the 4 horsewomen, which
I did.
Sasha Banks left as well.
I understand.
She's a horsewoman,
but is Sasha on my Rushmore?
Well, if you said the 4 horsewomen, you can't exclude her.
I didn't say the 4 horsewomen.
I said Becky.
I said Becky, Bayley, Roxanne, and Stephanie. But you obviously got to meet Saraya over the weekend again for the first time in 10 years, you said?
It's been since I didn't meet her at 31. I met her at another convention, Wizard World in 14. So it's been about 10 years.
It's been before that. But regardless, this obviously came up in conversation between the two of you, I hear.
Well, yeah, okay. So like I said, the thing about WrestleCon, they really take more of a time, and I don't want to say like, oh, I didn't enjoy the ones I met at World, because I did, even in the short time, compare 1 minute to like almost 5 minutes, at WrestleCon with someone. So she was really cool. Again, her line's lengthy and whatnot. And, we're waiting there, and, all three of us that were there met her and tell her, you always fanboy out, with anyone, you turn into a kid, 100%.
Yeah.
So when I get up there, I'm saying, oh man, it's been 10,
Such
long
and such
time. Yeah. And
time,
she's like, how long? And I'm like, it's been like, oh, well, she goes, no, tell me. And I'm like, it's been like 10 years. She goes, man, everyone's telling me that. Cause she doesn't do a lot of these. Like she hasn't, and so it's like one you got to take advantage of. And
for those of you who wonder why, she has a very, very dark history with a lot of essentially being used and abused for a lot of these things.
Right.
And she doesn't like that. So that's why she doesn't do a lot of them anymore.
So cool, really cool. And, she's, chatting, and, you have whatever, you want her signed, and, we're talking, and NXT comes up. Like I said, she was the first NXT women's champion. To me, she started.
And Divas champion at the same time.
And she won it night after Rania. It was the New York one. What is that, 29?
There's a whole movie based on it. You can go watch it.
That's true. And so
Florence Pugh did a fantastic job.
She really did,
by the way.
It kind of just.
She's the best.
She is. Yeah. She is.
So we're talking NXT, and I told her, you started the revolution.
Absolutely.
Her and Emma Tennille put on that match. Great. You go back and watch it. 2014, I believe it was. And they killed it, and I go, you know what? I had a discussion with a friend of mine about your Mount Rushmore of NXT.
NXT women.
Well, right. No, we did. We did. And, he left you off, and he said, the first double champ, Stephanie Vicaire.
Technically, is true.
I said, and like I said, I'm going to keep it
PG. We have to keep it PG for radio.
She goes, oh, really? She goes, well, I was a double champ. And she goes, give him one of these.
Of course.
So you got
I got the bird. We got the early bird.
100. Yeah, you did. And she goes, tell him I started that XSplit.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
And I'll say this as well. She said, what did Cody say to Rock?
Yeah, true.
That's that's quoting. That's exactly what she said. Go tell him. Hey, Rock, go. So
no, I totally understand her
she
frustrations.
Started that.
I'm standing by my statement, though. You left the company.
Don't see her in person, man.
NXT. No, I will. I would invite her on the
thing.
show. All the more thing. Sit down here and plead your case for me, Paige. I absolutely will stand here and let you cuss me out. I have no problem doing that. But I stand by my statement. It is technical that we are talking about NXT only.
She was NXT.
She was NXT. You're right. However, the main title don't count because that's not NXT's title.
Dude.
I'm making specifications all I want. I don't care.
Vicaire defended it once and then had to drop it.
That she didn't have to. They made her.
Well, that's my point. They made she could have dropped the NXT one. She could have kept going.
Well, I'm sure. WrestleMania.
God, I hated this part of the dang weekend. But thoughts?
Day one, day two.
Day one was way better in my opinion.
Really?
I thought day one was better.
Day one to me has been on a hot streak since I feel it was not before Hollywood.
We're talking.
Dallas.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Dallas.
Yeah,
it'd be
I
right
feel
before.
like day ones have been the best since then, and I feel that day one this year just
wasn't the same.
I think it got better.
Mhm.
As the matches progressed. I thought Jade and Naomi was underrated.
I thought so too.
To me, it was the second best on the card. The main event was great.
Maybe I was biased because I loved the fact that we started with Jay winning. I feel like that should have been the main event at the very end.
That match wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be a better match personally.
I'm going to agree with you.
I mean, starting it off, I was pumped. I was excited, and then the match just kind of fell flat. And it didn't seem like Gunther was the Gunther that I was expecting in that match.
Well, of course not, because that's what the storyline has been building up to.
But yeah, I just thought it would be a better match.
No, that's fair.
We would get Gunther.
Well, I think you started because you look at the pop Jay gets. You got to hit WrestleMania starting with all that. And to me, it I don't know if it fell flat. I asked Nick and another guy who I knew was there, and I said, hey, like everyone's on the line saying the crowd just not into it. Sounds a little flat. And he goes, no, like, I think they're just trolling. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like they said, they're eating, they're going crazy. So I don't know if it's the kind of you had to be there thing, which to me, it definitely, I think it is, because when the Usos fought Zayn and Kevin Owens
a couple years ago,
my buddy was texting me like, hey, man, it seems fun. I'm like, dude, they're going nuts right over there. So I don't know. I think it's a TV thing.
Well, you have to remember, too, you only really see one small section
Right.
of the entire arena.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think I honestly have read that, too. But everything that I saw from WrestleMania, people were going nuts when he won.
Yeah, and well, I thought he's gonna win. Everyone's gonna go crazy.
Right.
McAfee's always going crazy with them,
Right.
and I don't know. I like kind of what you're saying, Spark. It's I don't know. I just felt it was missing something, or like I just expected
more from it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, I'm sitting at home watching it on the big screen, so I'm biased. I'm not in Vegas,
right?
But I thought game 2 or night 2 was better. I could go back through the matches on night 1. I wasn't impressed by the Phoenix match. I thought that could have been left off. That could have been a SmackDown or Raw match.
We had been talking about that for a while,
But the
though.
same
That
thing.
one
But you can
shouldn't
go
have been
down
there.
the same thing with the New Day. We kind of knew that they were going to pull that title. I thought the War Raiders match was pretty weak. I liked the Jade match. I thought it was going to be weak.
It was our best one.
But I thought it was a good match. I liked the Tiffy match.
That one was a lot of fun.
But like going back to the opening match with Jay and Gunther, I wasn't into it. And if it wasn't for the triple threat at night or
Save the show.
at the main event, that was the best match of the night. But I have to go with night 2, because not only the beginning with the girls and Rhea and Io, which I was so pumped that she kept the title. I was not expecting that.
Love Io.
But I thought the fight card overall was better at night 2.
Oh, well, yeah, I can see how you could argue that. The matches were definitely more entertaining overall, I think, in night 2. But just night 1, I don't know. There was something more about night 1 that I felt. I was expecting more as well, but more like in the sense of interferences.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have been talking about it for weeks that I personally thought Aleister Black was going to make a appearance during the Luchador match, being the antithesis of Lucha. But obviously that didn't happen. We're going to see him on Friday.
I was hoping, fingers crossed, that we were going to see some type of, Bliss and Cross together, or some White Six, something.
I think you're going to wait on that one for a little bit, maybe at Backlash.
Well, I mean, tonight's supposed to be the biggest Raw of the year, and I think it felt okay. My thing is now Triple H taking over. He's done an awesome job. Awesome. We all, especially after last year's Mania, everyone's like, I love pro wrestling. This is what it is. And he was just, after event, killing it. I'm realistic. I'm like, they're not all going to be home runs. They're not, and I have to prepare myself for that. And that's fine, and so I'm expecting, I don't want to say let down, but I'm expecting to hear like, this one's not going to be as good as the other one, No,
that's fair. I just feel like night 1, you left more on a high than you did night 2. Even though I knew John was going to win night 2. They were just, the story lined up perfectly that way. Like I said, it's Star Wars for the WWE, and we just hit Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, it's just anticlimactic,
in a way. Yeah.
It just so.
And again, Travis coming out and being the interference, that was the dumbest thing in the world.
Dude, I thought for sure once he came out, I thought he was going to turn on Cena.
I did for a split second,
and I was like, nah.
But I mean, with The Rock being in Hawaii, it's like, I guess someone's got to be out there. And I hated Travis since he showed up at Chamber. It's I don't need this coming into my world that I love. I don't need it. I don't need it.
Honestly, I know a lot of people that are echoing the same thing. It is a business, and the WWE has thrived on celebrities coming in and shining, and adding more of their fans into the WWE fan base. But I have to agree with you. I don't think Travis Scott needs to be in this.
I think the only, and you say this name very loosely, I don't think Vince would have all this.
No, he wouldn't.
That's the only thing I liked. The Generico Americano, that's a Vince gimmick 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's got Vince all over it, and I'm surprised. But for like the Travis and all the sponsors and all that, I get it. It's a business, but I still think Vince would have kept
it. And honestly, the amount of sponsors that were on that mat, it looked like a NASCAR car. It really did. There was at least, a dozen on the mat itself.
On top of all the digital ones on the entrance.
And the entrances, the turnbuckles and all that.
You could tell, TKO might be making him sell out a little bit.
The
here.
drumstick section.
Yes, at the end. Oh my gosh!
Wow, like the crowd on the stage, that's cool, but it's like now you
The
guys
crowd.
Have
Okay,
I mean,
let's talk about
it's like
that
the
for
black
a
hole
sec.
for the Raiders.
That's what I was about to say. Like the crowd on top of the entrance, I think, is more of a flex than it is a good seat. That is a terrible seat when you really think about it. You miss all of the entrances. You can barely see the matches from how far away you are because this runway is about 30 yards at least.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you can't see jack on the other side.
That could be 30 to 40. Yeah, 100%.
So those tickets are actually awful.
Okay, I'll agree with him on this debate. I won't not on the other one, but with this one, I think it's right. I think it's
those are terrible. Those were just for clout.
Who take their kid? Oh, hey, we're sitting on the stage. Well, mom and dad can, it's a babysitter,
right?
A little bit because I did see kids up there.
Yeah,
So you're right. One, the parents that don't really care too much, but hey, I brought my son to WrestleMania.
Right, and it's a really cool seat because he's a part of the show.
Exactly.
But like at the end
until Stone Cold runs into the side.
Yeah,
he ran in before he got on the stage.
I saw that.
Yeah,
and I saw
he was hammered.
He looked smashed.
He chugged 6 beers before he left.
Well, the lady that fell, they showed the replay afterwards, and they're like,
"Is she okay?" That actually, I was going to ask that.
She was fine. Yeah, she pulled a LeBron.
She pulled a little. She flopped a little bit.
I'll allow that. Even though I'm a huge.
That's
he's also
up,
a Jets fan, but we haven't talked about that.
Well, I wasn't going to give him
Give me that
being
time
a Jets fan.
Give me that. That's another season.
We weren't going to give him.
I can't say anything. I'm a Dolphins fan, so
we got to take a break though and pay some bills. Adam, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We will hopefully have you on soon. One more time, tell them what the podcast is and how they can find it.
This Isn't Chicken. We have Instagram. It's just like that. This Isn't Chicken, and it's getting going. The wheels are turning. And it's like I said, it's a little something for everyone. The name, it's like when you're sitting down and you're gonna eat something, it's like this isn't chicken.
Absolutely.
So you don't know what you're gonna get.
So it's not my house because it always is.
It's always chicken. So it's you, your brother Brandon, and I'm assuming Eric.
No, it's
Nick Horonis. Okay, fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That should be a great podcast. So go check it out, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
And we will have you guys back on because I need to talk to Nick too because is the family still into the horse racing situation?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
If it's not horse racing, he's like I said, he's dropping a lot of mania.
We're gonna have to talk to him once the Derby and stuff like that comes around.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you so much again for your time, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, guys.
We got to take a break, though, and pay some bills. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m., ESPN Bakersfield, and we are streaming video live on YouTube. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Before we wrap up our WrestleMania talk, there's a handful of things that we got to run down that we didn't get to mention. Obviously, some of the matches that we thought were pretty exciting. I personally think the match of the night, or at least the match of the weekend, was the Intercontinental Championship. That was the fatal four-way between Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Penta, and Finn Balor, which ended with the San Diego native Dominic Mysterio, son of WWE legend and Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio, winning his first main title, well, really, singles title, I should say, because he's won the tag title a couple times now. But this is his first ever main roster title.
Well deserved.
Well deserved, as the workhorse of the entire company last year, and essentially did what I was hoping would happen, which is this guy is so good at being a bad guy that people actually cheered him after he won. Now, mind you, this kid, we were talking about this kid on the pod over a year ago being the first guy I've ever seen in the WWE not even be able to get a word out because he would be so heavily booed by the crowd that it would drown him out. And it happened so often that it became a gimmick. Now, these people are cheering his name because he is so good and everybody loves him. And it's just so cool to see that this kid essentially became a super heel. He doesn't have to be a good guy.
People hating on that because I said I'm taking Dom in this match.
I love Dom.
And
I love Dom.
All said no, it's not. He doesn't deserve it.
I swear to God,
no idea.
If I'm just going to put this out in the ether, they're coming here in June. If we are lucky enough to be able to sit down with somebody from the roster, and it is Dominic Mysterio,
that'd be dope.
I would please. I'll give you the whole 2 hours, brother. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your dad. This guy's got such a beautiful story too.
I'll bring the
world of, exactly. We'll give an entire plate of tendies for him. I don't care what we got to do, but this is so well deserved, as you said. And honestly, I love what he said post show, which is why I'm glad you pulled this spark. Because just listen to this, because it really encompasses who he is as a character.
To lose the dead weight, you know.
Are you
deadbeat.
a fan?
No. My deadbeat dad.
Oh, your deadbeat dad.
Know, I feel like I've solidified myself because everyone was saying you'll never be able to fill Rey's shoes. You'll never be bigger than Rey Mysterio. Less than 5 years later, 4 years, I am the greatest Mysterio of all time, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
I'm going to let the euphoria soak into your brain and give you a pass on that. Celebrate tonight. Your father's a Hall of Famer.
Okay. What's your point?
He could be a future
I'm already
Hall of Famer.
I could get inducted tomorrow. I'm basically a 20-year veteran in this business.
He is so cocky and coy. I just love the character that he's built, this entire feud that he has with his dad. It's fantastic. If you watched WrestleMania, he came out with a mask that was a fusion of his great uncle, Rey Mysterio Sr., as well as I think his grandfather's mask, if I'm not mistaken.
The one he had problems getting off?
Yes, that was kind of funny, but that, I mean, it is what it is. But he himself has really taken this just bad guy persona, and he doesn't want to be a good guy. And I love when this happens in the WWE, when he is so bad that you cheer him. It's just like Randy Orton. He's such a bad guy back in 2006 that you loved him. And that's exactly what we're getting with Dom. So
that's staying with Orton. That match was just garbage.
Again, it was
that was the bathroom break time.
That was a thrown together match. There's a reason it was only like 5 minutes. Joe Hendry, the TNA champion, filled in essentially for Kevin Owens. Wasn't what everybody was hoping, but it ended with essentially Orton patting Joe Hendry on the back saying, "You will be back." And Triple H did say that in the press conference.
I saw that.
I'd expect to see Joe Hendry, a very massive entity in the wrestling world right now, be a part of the WWE for a long time. So that was more of just saying, here's Joe. You'll be seeing a lot more of Joe. I think that's really what that one is.
One of the surprises to me as a fan on day two was the Lyra and Becky Lynch pulling the titles. We kind of knew there was a lot of rumors about Becky coming. I didn't really expect them to pull the titles that quick.
And kudos to Bayley for being the one that fell on the sword, because they wrote her off last second in
To fill
a
in Becky.
yeah, in what I assume will be building towards a rivalry for her as well going forward in her career. But to be written off in essentially your Super Bowl right before, like probably day of, that is, I can only
See, I never saw
imagine.
any of that she got
It
jumped
happened
or
during
whatever,
the
but
pre-show,
I did
and-
see the writers come out and say, she's not hurt.
No, it's just it's a creative reason, and again, for her being essentially, she's a Hall of Famer. Bailey will go down in the WWE Hall of Fame probably very soon after she retires, whenever she decides to do that. But it sucks to see. I mean, it's just like if you prepare for the Super Bowl your entire life, and then you metaphorically tear your ACL right before the big game. Like it's just so disheartening, I'm sure, to have built up all of this and then to be written off last second. I just feel for her. But obviously that is built towards, the tag titles moving over to a different hand, and what I assume will be the moving on from the Intercontinental side for the women's title, that Lyra will most likely have to drop that at some point. But that is everything, I think. Is that all the matches that we really ran down?
The only other thing I was going to say, I didn't have a high bar for the Priest and McIntyre match, and it was actually a better match than I expected.
Absolutely. And again, this is the WWE doing a very good job at rewarding their two superstars in general, because Drew McIntyre has been the best wrestler on social media for the last couple years in terms of just engaging with his fans, just being fun online. People love his persona online, so they give you credit for that as well. And Damian is just a superstar that's growing in his own right. I mean, the guy is going to be hosting a Slayer concert, which is why Slayer came out and played for him. That was really cool.
That was awesome.
So I this was them just rewarding those two guys for a great couple years of work, and they didn't really have a way to put them in title contention. So why not feud against each other when they're going to make a banger match, which is what we got. So I was actually really excited about that. But we need to stop calling all these things street fights. Just say there's no rules.
Yes, hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore. Let's just go back to the hardcore. Actually, that's another thing I want to bring up. If Travis wants to keep walking around with that freaking hardcore title, make him defend it.
I think they are.
Let's bring it
back.
back.
I think we'll see a Travis Scott match.
Do you think Travis is going to have to defend that title against somebody?
I think he's going to get in the ring. I think he's going to have a match. I know he's talked about training and all this, but now that he's kind of made his appearance a few times, I think somebody's going to get him, and I think it's going to end in a match, I believe. But just going over to NCAA, did we hear some news this morning?
We did. Well, not this morning. It was over the weekend. But Nico Iamaleava has officially decided that he will be transferring to UCLA. He went to his Instagram this past weekend and announced that his time at the University of Tennessee is over, and he will be joining the Bruins next year. I'm not 100% sure on what the money aspect of this is. I do know that the contract that was originally talked about last week was significantly lower than they were getting at University of Tennessee. So this decision by whomever and bad advice by whomever in the camp has definitely come to bite him in the butt, which is unfortunate. But at this point, this is kind of what we all saw coming. And Nico will be headed to LA back to Southern California. He is a Southern California boy, so hopefully he can revive his career. Much like Cam said, there's ways to revive yourself. Just start playing better, and everybody will just forget about it. And it's true. We have a recency bias problem in this country. I mean, shoot, you just heard my NXT women's Mount Rushmore. I have recency bias all the time, but that's kind of where we are in this country, is that we are living in the moment. So if Nico can just turn around his play and show everybody that he is the quarterback that deserves the money that he was asking for, everybody will shut up about it.
Well, I hope to see that.
I hope to see that too.
And we did just hear Duke's Cooper Flagg confirms he is entering the NBA draft.
Yes, he is. Now, he was contemplating it last week, dangling it out in front of everybody. I don't know if I want to leave or not. We all knew he was going to leave. I honestly did kind of hold out hope, though, that he may stay one more year at Duke. I am kind of tired of seeing the one and dones, but Cooper is good enough to play in the league, so it really isn't a surprise to anybody. But where he goes is going to be the big question. Does he end up in Utah? I don't know.
With him and Wemby?
Well, no, that's San Antonio.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's San Antonio.
I was thinking of San Antonio Because I know there's also some talks about some trades
being made. Yeah.
Yes. And when is the lottery? I know we talked about it. I think it's next month, sometime in May. But as he's looking that up, I did see Georgia lands transfers Elo Mendoza, Josh McCray, and Josh Horton, a big Army outside linebacker in Elo, Illinois running back Josh McCray, and Miami defensive lineman Josh Horton. Right after they wrapped up the weekend, they all agreed on Sunday.
The lottery is on. Oh, I'm sorry. The draft is on the 25th. Why did you give me the draft? I want the lottery. It's in Chicago, so it'll be sometime between now and January or June 25th. I apologize. January. I'm dumb. But I mean, big pickups, obviously, all around by Georgia. If you are getting picked up by Georgia, you have talent. In my personal opinion, that entire organization knows what they're doing and has pumped out more professionals in the last 10 years than anybody will ever know. But at this point, it's a good sign for the Georgia Bulldogs if you're a fan, because you're going to be getting some good people coming your way. Is that all we got in the NCAA, though? I think
that's it.
All right, let's take a quick break then and pay some bills one last time. On the other side of the break, we'll give you the unfortunate news of our Bakersfield Condors, who fought hardly, but unfortunately didn't do enough to make the playoffs. But we'll tell you what happened on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield, and we're streaming live video-wise on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick, and that's Sparky. And unfortunately, our Bakersfield Condors did everything they could. I swear, man. I mean, you couldn't have scored more goals. There was a point where I was literally texting Sparky, just saying, "Hey, can we just outscore them at a point? Like, if we scored enough, could we just get more points?" But apparently, that's not how that works.
Well, they backed themselves into a corner
They
after
kinda
that
did.
Wednesday loss.
They did. But I mean, they did everything they could to end out the season on a good note, and they did, winning the last 2 games. Unfortunately, Tucson was able to pull out one, though, at the very end of the season and knock out our Condors. I mean, next year will hopefully be a better year, obviously, for the squad. But at this point, you just can't put yourself in the corner like that, especially when it comes down to crunch time.
That's exactly what happened. And I know, hearing from the coach last week, we heard that, a few of the key players were called up, and that happens when you play in this type of developmental type league. But
yeah, and with Edmonton being a playoff team, obviously they need bodies, so it's going to happen more often than not.
And did you catch that Condors, or not Condors, the Orioles game?
I didn't get to catch it, but I saw the final score. I mean, again, this is the weird thing about baseball to me, is that you'll have teams that just pull this type of thing off. I mean, the Reds won, what was it, 24-2?
24-2.
After
a 7-run
against
third
the
inning.
Baltimore Orioles. I mean, Baltimore has a bad history when it comes to these games. I think they're what did you say?
Yeah,
3?
there's been 7 games since 2005 when the home team has lost by 20 or plus runs. The Orioles have done it 3 times.
Right.
24-2 on Sunday, 23-2 against the Astros in 2019, and then 30-3 against the Rangers in 2007.
Oh, 30-3. I forgot about that one. Okay, we also have to remember that the Baltimore Orioles have a very long history of not being a good baseball club. This is only the last couple of years have they been a real playoff contender. But also, let's look at the flip side of this. The Reds are very good this year. They're hot and they're young, but at this point, they also have a bad history of having those games that are just, they'll blow out a team by like something like this, go up like 10 to 15 points or runs at a time, and then not be able to hit for the next month and a half. So it really is a trade-off. Can you keep the streak going is really what we will see going forward. The baseball gods usually say no. You take them as you can get them. And when you have those games of just massive output, it usually bites you in the butt later on down the line.
And I know it's only Monday, and we'll get into the NFL draft as we get closer.
Yes.
I know the draft is starting. I believe round 1 is Thursday, and then it'll go on from there. And you can hear it all right here on ESPN Bakersfield. But we wrapped up the week last week talking about the Aaron Rodgers interview with Pat and his comments about Aaron Glenn and the Jets.
His story, which I'm actually surprised we haven't gotten a rebuttal story, or at least I haven't seen a rebuttal story from Aaron Glenn in all of this, because that story that Rodgers claims happened made Glenn look pretty small.
Yes.
As we said last week.
Well, I pulled this clip this morning. This is Matt Jones from Sunday Football, and this is what he had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
He's the worst. And I have a million reasons why I think he's the worst. But for somebody who always complains about how, he wants to run off and be left alone and blah, blah, nobody craves the spotlight more than Aaron Rodgers. He has to be the center of attention. And the way that he talked about that was some of the most presumptuous stuff I've ever heard. He said, I flew all the way out there on my dime. Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron. Did you have to take a flight? Like, a lot of people have to take a flight, Aaron. That's called life. And then he was mad that he came out there and was fired. You know what? I think if he had done it the other way, he would have complained about that too. Yes. If they had just called him on the phone and said, hey, man, we're moving on, he'd go, they didn't even have the decency to tell me in person. Right? Like, he's one of these dudes who was just going to complain. He said he wanted to have a 2-hour conversation. What was there to talk about? They didn't want you to be the quarterback.
Again, I said my piece on this last week. I don't know if yours has changed on this at all, Sparky, but I don't think Aaron actually looks for the attention. I think it's people like this who love to talk about Aaron that bring it up all the time.
I mean, I think.
What about going to a beach, a secluded beach, and trying to be by yourself and figure your thing out? Screams, I want attention.
Yeah, but there's 345 more days out of the year. So, I mean, there's a time to take a vacation, and I'd see as soon as he came back out of that, he's right back in the news. And if he didn't want the attention, he wouldn't be on Pat's show all the time. But I do agree with that, where he wants to take the time off, but it is leading up to the draft this week, and I would have been more shocked if we didn't hear about Aaron Rodgers.
No, absolutely. Because again, where Aaron is going to be the talking point of every football show from here until he actually signs somewhere. And then it's going to be, can Aaron lead this team wherever he decides to go? Can he lead them to a Super Bowl? Again, it's always the media pointing the camera at Aaron.
Yes.
Aaron's not screaming, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I kind of draw the line. Like, let's relax on he needs the attention. He craves it.
It's the offseason, so the media craves it.
Yes, exactly.
And
football shows crave it. We need something to talk about. I get it. We're in the media. We're a football show too. We need something to talk about. We've been talking about Cam and Shador for 2 weeks. Do you think I want to talk about Shador for 2 weeks?
I'm so over it. But we will, as a listener asked on Friday if we would do a mock draft. We're not going to do a full
first round is kind of that's going to take way too long, but we'll give you at least half. I mean, we can go up to I believe both of our teams in the top 15, so we can give it to ours top 15 because everything after that usually gets dicey anyway, to be honest.
And are we going to see some trades? I will bring that up tomorrow because I saw a updated where they think 5 trades that could happen. That still could happen.
Ooh.
And of course, Tyreek is in that mix.
Naturally.
So
of course he is.
We'll talk more about that. Plus, we'll have our Trivia Tuesday coming up tomorrow, live from 7 to 9 a.m.
Right here on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. Or you can watch us online at the Early Bird Special on YouTube. And don't forget, you can find us all over social media as well. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Go follow us. Go share everything. I mean, we'd love all the engagement. We will read every message. I promise you we'll get to you as quickly as we possibly can. But until then, till tomorrow. Again, join us back here tomorrow morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Here comes Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.